Hey guys, it's Brie. So today's video is going to be on periods and sensory processing disorders. I've got that right. Just to clarify, this is not about people who have really sensitive skin in the sense that you react to chemicals really easily, you get reactions from disposable pads or chemicals, or even have eczema and that kind of thing. This is actually for people. Usually it's associated with autism, the sensory processing disorder, but people who find it very difficult to process certain feelings of fabrics and all that kind of stuff. This video was an idea that came to me after I spoke to a lady who had a 15-year-old daughter with autism who really struggled with the sensory side of things, and particularly with periods. They were a nightmare for the family because her daughter just absolutely hated wearing them and really found it very distressing to wear the disposable pads. They were very uncomfortable. And I mean, I can understand because I find it really uncomfortable to wear a disposable pad anyway. They were itchy, they were sweaty, they're just not breathable, they can be scratchy, and it's just not particularly pleasant, in all honesty. So today I've grabbed a few cloth pads which have special fabrics on top that I think will be particularly good for people with sensory processing disorders. So whether you have this condition yourself, or you know someone who has it, or like the lady I spoke to, you have a daughter with a sensory processing disorder, hopefully this video can help you decide whether or not cloth pads might be a viable option for you, and if they are, which fabrics you think you would decide to go for. So the first fabric I'm going to show you is Minky. This pad is topped in Minky, in particular a hand-dyed particular print, but you can get Minky in all sorts of other patterns and colours and all that sort of stuff. Minky is made from 100% polyester, and it's a super soft fabric. It does have a bit of a pile to it. It's still quite low, but it does have a pile to it. It's not completely flat. But it is just really soft. You will not get any sort of chafing from this, any sort of rubbing from it. It's just way too soft to do that. If you think of the material those ultra soft baby blankets are made out of, that's what this is made out of. It's really soft. The other plus side to Minky is quite a lot of cloth pad shops stock it, so you will almost certainly be able to find some pads with this particular fabric. The downside to this one though is that it does tend to get quite warm. So I always find it quite wet as well when I'm wearing them. I can definitely feel like the damp patch where I've been bleeding. And if it's in the summer, I don't tend to use Minky pads because, like I said, they are quite warm. They don't tend to be as breathable as some other fabrics like cotton, for example. But they are really soft and they won't cause any chafing. So if that's a particular issue for you, this is definitely a type of fabric you should consider. The next fabric I'm going to recommend is one that's not really that common. Only a few stores that I know actually stock it, and it's crushed velvet. I really like this fabric because it is still really soft. It's a bit more breathable than Minky. However, and I also feel like I don't feel so damp when I'm wearing it. As I said before, the downside to it is that not many shops actually stock it. This particular pad is from Novel Red on Etsy. But again, it can also be a warmer fabric in the summer, so maybe not good for then. But it is a little bit more breathable than Minky, and it also, I feel, doesn't feel as damp when I'm wearing it, but everyone has a personal preference. If you're particularly sensitive to that sort of thing, you might still feel damp with this particular fabric, but again, you're not going to get any sort of chafing or any sort of rubbing from it. The next fabric I'm showing you is one from one of my own pads, actually a Precious Stars pad from my website. These are topped in bamboo charcoal, this particular pad. Bamboo charcoal is a stay-dry fabric, so what it does is it wicks the moisture directly away from your skin. It's still pretty soft. I mean, it's not on any level to compete with crushed velvet or Minky, but it's certainly not hard enough that, well, you're not going to chafe from this. It's not like the material on pads. It does still stay soft, and it stays soft even when you wash it in hard water areas too. But the particular thing that I really like about bamboo charcoal, and the reason I chose it for this particular video, is, like I said, it wicks the moisture right away from your body. When I'm wearing this particular pad, I don't feel like I'm on my period. I can't feel any sort of dampness because it goes straight through the pad. In fact, if you pour water onto a bamboo charcoal pad, you'll see that actually gradually this pad goes back to its normal colour again because the water completely goes through it, and you can't feel it when you press on it or anything. It feels completely dry. That is one of the big plus sides to bamboo charcoal. So if you're someone who can't stand dampness, this is definitely a fabric that you should try. The next fabric I have is Pro Cool Wicking Jersey. You can see it's on this big overnight pad here. It's good for overnight, and that's why I chose my overnight pad in it. It's very good because it wicks moisture away from your skin, hence the name Pro Cool Wicking Jersey. It's very stretchy, it's pretty soft, again, not on the level of minky or crushed velvet, but it does like to wick the moisture away from your skin, so you shouldn't feel wet when you're touching it. And it's also quite good because it's very breathable. So if you do quite a lot of moving, or if you're into sports, that kind of stuff, this is the type of pad you're going to want to use for that. Also, if you're using any of these fabrics and you don't like sweatiness, try and get them with just fleece backing and not PUL. PUL will always kind of restrict the breathability of it, not to the same extent that a disposable pad is restricted, but if you're very sensitive to it, that's something you might want to consider avoiding, and just sticking with fleece, which is still breathable but is moisture resistant. Not such a good thing for heavy flows. Usually you do need at least some PUL just in the core maybe for that, but leaving the wings free to breathe might be another option for you, but still, it's definitely just a case of trying them out and seeing. But Pro-Core is particularly good, as I said before, for breathability and for wicking away moisture. And finally, the last pad I have to show you is topped in Suede Cloth. Now, Suede Cloth is a really good fabric for, again, wicking and feeling stay dry. Again, this is polyester. In fact, I think all of these, bar the crushed velvet and the bamboo charcoal, which is basically like a micro fleece that's been charcoaled, they're all made of polyester. So if you're sensitive to polyester, they're not really going to work for you. But in terms of just staying dry and feeling really soft, Suede Cloth is a low pile, so it's still good in hot climates. It's very soft still, and it stays soft with hard water areas. And again, it wicks the moisture away. It's pretty similar to Pro-Core Wicking Jersey in its features, it just has a slightly different feel to it. And I guess with this one it's just sort of personal preference, but they both keep you dry and they're both pretty thin top fabrics to keep pads as slim as possible if you find bulkiness annoying. So these are the pads that I would particularly recommend for sensory processing disorders. There's only one fabric that I really wouldn't recommend, and that is flannel. I think this is the only flannel pad I have actually. The reason for this is that flannel tends to go hard very easily, and you can't use fabric softener in the wash with cloth pads because it reduces the absorbency. Fabric softener kind of coats the fabric in a light film, and it means the water can't pass through all the moisture, and that's not going to be comfortable. So you have to just wash it with regular detergent and nothing else, unless you want to use white distilled vinegar or Epsom salts to soften it. I will get around to doing a video on this, I promise. But flannel is one that's really hard to keep soft. It often tends to pill. So unless you live in a really soft water area, it's not something I would recommend. And it also doesn't tend to keep you feeling dry. But I hope you found this video helpful, guys. Please subscribe. Remember, I sell cloth pads and menstrual cups on my website down below, preciousstars.net. And I will see you later. Bye.